This is 3 News Daily.
Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Daily on this Wednesday, February 8th. I'm Stephanie Haney, and today we start with a new update for you out of East Palestine. We're waiting on results on air quality samples that were collected and tested overnight. Authorities confirmed that the fire is out and all 5 train cars containing the dangerous chemical vinyl chloride are no longer burning. 4 of the cars have been removed from the site, and that just leaves 1 car still at the scene of the wreck. People who live in the area have filed a lawsuit against Norfolk Southern Railway, saying the railway negligently operated the train that derailed last week. Now, coming up today at 3 o'clock, Governor DeWine will have more information for us, and we'll have those details for you this evening. Now, for some East Palestine residents, they're worried about more than just getting back in their own beds. Some pet owners had to leave their 4-legged family members behind when they evacuated. Diana James with Angels for Animals in Canfield says they are more than willing to help.
It's heartbreaking that you have to leave part of your family behind, if you can't go to a shelter that accepts them. So that's why Angels reached out to the community to let them know that if they needed a safe place to bring their pets, they could bring them here.
Now, a representative from the animal shelter says that if you need to bring your pets to Angels for Animals, they will make sure to get them right back to you once the crisis is over. We have a link to their website on WKYC.com if you need it. And in national news, in Turkey, officials released new drone video showing the scale of the destruction caused by Monday's earthquakes. This is the city of Kahramanmaraş in Turkey, near the epicenter of the 7.8 magnitude quake. The Turkish community of Cleveland is holding a clothes drive looking for winter coats, boots, gloves, and hats. If you'd like to help, you can head to these locations you see on your screen throughout Northeast Ohio to donate. Now, 6 people are lucky to be alive after their house caught on fire this morning in Little Italy's neighborhood in Cleveland. The Cleveland Fire Department tells us they were saved by their smoke detector, which woke them up when the fire broke out, and that just proves how important it is to have a working fire detector in your home. The fire department says it was an accidental electric fire, and experts expect the damage to cost around $50,000. President Joe Biden gave his second State of the Union address last night, highlighting several accomplishments from his first 2 years in office. He laid out his vision for the future of the country, and it was his first primetime speech hosted by the new Republican House Speaker. And this is at a time when the parties are clashing over several issues. Despite this, Biden called on Congress to work together and finish the job on issues like police reform. Jayland Walker's mother and sister were in the audience, still grieving after Jayland was killed in June by Akron police. They spoke with our Bree Buckley earlier this week about their continued fight for justice for Jayland and to hold police accountable for their actions. President Biden addressed their same concerns last night, saying law enforcement needs to be held to a higher standard. The president also spoke about Tyree Nichols, who was brutally beaten to death by police in Memphis last month. His parents were there as well as special guests of the First Lady.
The support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers, banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act.
President Biden says he wants to see more training for law enforcement, more resources for reducing gun crime, and to address mental health and substance abuse issues to reduce crime in general. Now, while the president was speaking, our team of fact checkers was standing by, ready to investigate what's true, what's false, and what's missing context. Here's Casey Decker with our National Verify team.
Verify here to fact check the State of the Union and the Republican response. Here you can see the sources we went to. One of the first things President Biden did in his speech was take credit for economic growth during his presidency, citing booming jobs numbers.
After we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs, more jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years because of you all.
The first half of that claim is true. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 143 million jobs when Biden took office. Now, 2 years later, there are 155 million. But the second half of the claim is false. The BLS has data going back to 1939, and we found that between 1996 and 2000, when Bill Clinton was president, more than 12.4 million jobs were added. That's more than the 12.1 million added in Biden's 2 years. Now, those years span Clinton's first and second terms in office, so the growth wasn't just in one term, but it was over one 4-year span. Next, Biden also claimed he'd taken huge steps towards balancing the budget.
My administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion.
That's true. According to the Federal Reserve, the national deficit before Biden took office was more than $3.1 trillion. By 2022, that number had dropped below $1.4 trillion. No other 2-year span saw a decrease that large since the Fed began reporting that data in 1901. Still, the claim needs context. The deficit ballooned above $3 trillion in 2020 because of massive spending programs the government launched to respond to the pandemic. So a lot of the deficit shrinking is a result of those programs expiring, not necessarily any specific action taken by Biden. Okay, moving on to the Republican response from Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
100,000 Americans a year are now killed from drug overdoses, largely from fentanyl.
We can verify that's true. The CDC's most recent data puts drug overdose deaths at 101,000 over the last 12 months. Roughly 70,000 of those deaths are from synthetic opioids, like fentanyl. It's a figure President Biden himself highlighted in the State of the Union, calling for more drug detection equipment at the border. But Sanders also claimed the drugs came across the southern border. But where the fatal drugs are coming from simply isn't tracked. With your State of the Union Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Thank you for that, Casey. Our National Verify team does such a nice job making sure we know what's true, what's not, and giving us context where we need it. Now back at home, Mally's Chocolates entered into a recapitalization agreement with the Chicago-based company Promise Holdings. Mally's president Mike Malley says the family will stay actively involved with the company, and this move will help position Mally's for future growth. Promise Holdings is a private company formed to invest in early and late-stage businesses. Malley also said that all employees will stay on staff with no job changes, and their shops are currently getting ready for Valentine's Day, which, by the way, that is less than a week away from today. Now, the next step in the breast cancer vaccine research has started. Cleveland Clinic launched the next phase of the vaccine clinical trial meant to prevent triple-negative breast cancer, and that's the deadliest form of breast cancer. Senior health correspondent Monica Robbins reports.
I met Dr. Vincent Toohey in the early 2000s, the early stages of his breast cancer vaccine research.
What we're trying to do is what a lot of people thought was impossible.
Fast forward 20 years, the breast cancer vaccine is heading into the next phase of clinical trial. Unfortunately, Dr. Toohey won't see where the science ends up. He passed away last month at the age of 74, but his passion still fuels the research.
We now have a good idea of the dose range that we need to study. Now we're expanding, meaning increasing accrual to some of these dose levels to get an idea of the shape of the immune response.
In 2021, they started testing the vaccine on patients who fought triple-negative breast cancer. Now they're looking for a new group of patients.
Phase 1B will be patients who have no history of breast cancer, but who are at risk to develop it. And that risk is sufficiently high that they often elect to undergo prophylactic or preventive mastectomy.
Study participants will get 3 vaccinations 2 weeks apart and be closely monitored for side effects and immune response. The vaccine targets a lactation protein that's present in most triple-negative breast cancers. The vaccine is designed to push the immune system to attack the cancer and keep it from growing. While hopeful, there's still a long way to go.
It's one of those journeys of 1,000 steps that has to start. So we're taking the first steps.
Monica Robbins, 3 News.
Fascinating, fascinating stuff. Now, if you want to learn more about the clinical trial, you can go to WKYC.com for that. Now, if you are a gamer, here is something exciting coming in a few months. Cedar Point is expanding into the world of esports, and officials say a state-of-the-art facility will open in Sandusky in May. It's going to include a full-service gaming area tailored for streamers with 32 competitive gaming stations to create an immersive gaming experience. This is just one step, though. Cedar Point says Phase 2 will feature food and drinks and an even larger gaming area. And in large basketball news, LeBron James has officially passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. This happened during the Lakers game against the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. Abdul-Jabbar scored 38,387 points in his 20-year career with the LA Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks. And LeBron broke that record by 3 points by the end of the game, scoring 38,390. Now, when it happened, officials paused the game to honor King James on the court. And because he is the kid from Akron, Akron Mayor Dan Horrigan is making today, February 8th, LeBron James Day. So happy LeBron James Day. And that brings us to our question of the day. With LeBron breaking that record, we want to know, what's your favorite moment from LeBron's career so far? Post your comment to the WKYC Facebook page, and we'll talk about it during What's New at 4 o'clock. I know for a lot of people that's going to be winning the championship here in Cleveland. All right, before we go here today, today's honoree for Black History Month is Jayne Kennedy. Here's a little bit about her.
Jayne Kennedy made history while attending Wycliffe High School. She was the first Black woman to win Miss Ohio in 1970. Kennedy went on to become one of 15 semifinalists in the 1970 Miss USA pageant. In 1978, she continued to break ground as the first female correspondent for a national sports program. She says her love for sports was the result growing up a Cleveland Browns fan. In 1982, her performance as Julie Winters in the movie Body and Soul earned her an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actress in a Motion Picture. We salute Black history maker Jayne Kennedy for her contributions as an actress and sports broadcaster.
What an incredible woman and an incredibly diverse career right here from Northeast Ohio. So happy to have that information about Jayne Kennedy. All right, thank you very much for being with us for today's edition of 3 News Daily. We'll see you back here tomorrow with more of your top stories from Northeast Ohio.